Hello and welcome to the Retention People webinar for July. This month we're looking at fitness tracking devices and potentially how it impacts your business and your members. My name is Craig McIntyre. I'm one of the retention coaches from the UK. I know that Julie Allen was registered as doing that, but I'm taking over from her today. So what we're going to cover today. So what we're going to initially look at, we've got a lot of new people on our webinar today. It's probably one of the busiest ones we've ever done. So the first part we're going to look at is we're going to look at the TRP 10,000, so the overview of the research, just so you guys understand who was included in the research projects that we're currently conducting. We're looking at the tracking devices, who uses them, and which ones do they use. We're looking to try and understand the motivation to make sure that we understand ultimately what is driving those customers, what are they trying to achieve. We are looking at visit frequency to see do the tracking devices make any difference to that visit frequency, and looking is the technology associated with progress, so is it helping our customers improve or achieve what they'd like to achieve. And then ultimately the big question, is it helping us to keep our customers longer? As most of you guys know, you're in listen only mode. What we'll probably do is at the end of the session, feel free to type in any questions, and I'll either try to answer them in the call, or we'll answer them via email to you guys at a later date. So an overview of the TRP 10,000, the project. So it was it is so far as the largest single individual study that's taken place around the health and fitness industry, and this was focused in the UK. The aim of it is to track members for between 3 and 5 years. We're coming up to the 3-year point now. The project is literally deciding exactly what direction we're going to be taking it in for the final few years. The aim is really, to provide learning, so we understand our customers a little bit more, both before. So what drove them to come to us? What was the decisions that made them come and sign up with you guys? So what happened to them before, during, when they're with you, and even after they leave you guys as customers as well. So we understand all the different metrics that are making them choose helping them make the decisions right the way through that customer journey. And the overall aim of it is really to hopefully to help us understand the industry a little bit better, help us understand our customers a lot better, and help give our customers some real good insight into some of the things that can be helping shape their business and help them improve their levels of service going forwards. So who did we invite? It was the first question. So we initially sent an invite out to 250,000 people. So we wanted a really good sample size for this project. So 250,000 people were invited to take part. And they were invited through all the clubs that we were working with back in 2013. We asked all of those companies if they'd like to take part, so we could ask their customers if they'd like to take part in this research project. The customers who did take part, they were attending at least what they had attended at least once within the last month. They were age over 16. They had to have a current email address. We had to have a way of contacting them to make sure that the research piece was, we could get the data back. And at the end, once we got back all those initial replies and we found out exactly what companies wanted to take part, we had a really good spread of both private, both independents and chains, management contractors, local authority, and the leisure trust market in the UK. So there's a really good spread of customers, rather than it's just being pigeonholed into any one particular group. So looking at who did actually take part, so we saw that from the 250,000 people, 11,935 people actually opened up that questionnaire between July and September of 2013. The questionnaire had a number of different pages to it, but 11,877 people actually completed the first page of the questionnaire. As you would expect with questionnaires, there's definitely there's a dropout rate when people realise that they might have to complete multiple pages. But what we did find was 85% of people, so 10,062 people, actually completed all the pages that were made up of the questionnaire, which is where the name the TRP 10,000 has come from. The average age of the people who completed the questionnaire was 41, but again, there was a really good spread of ages. So youngest being 16 and the oldest person who was 85. So really nice to see that some of our older customers have got email addresses and are responding to some of these types of studies as well. And percentage-wise, females come out slightly on top with regards to who took part in the questionnaire. So 56% of the people who took part were female. So who's using these fitness apps? So what we found was overall 27% of the members reported using some of the tracking devices. And the biggest percentage of people, when we are asking about the types of the types of tracking that they were using, the feedback that applications that were on phones, so web apps, were reported back to be the highest used at 15%. Slightly more males than females reported using the tracking devices, so it's 30% of males compared to 26% of females were saying that they were using those tracking devices. And the other thing that we saw, if we looked at the age groups, the levels started to decline the older the customer groups were getting. So if you're looking at the age group between 16 and 24, 40% of those customers were reporting that they were using tracking devices. But if we started to look higher up, so look at the age ranges 55 plus, you would find that only 7% of people were reporting that they were using those tracking devices. It was also much more likely that the long-standing customers were also less likely, to report using tracking devices compared to our newer customers. So the newer customers much more likely to be using tracking devices as opposed to the customers that we probably all know and know their names, the ones that have been members with us for years and years. They're much less likely to use those types of tracking devices. The members did also report like a really large range of systems that they were using for tracking, but the highest one of all that we found was MyFitnessPal was the highest used tracking device in the study. So and anybody that doesn't know what MyFitnessPal is, it's tracking. It helps track your food, helps track your diet, and it also helps track physical activity levels, with ultimately the aim being weight loss. And then all of the other tracking systems that were listed and included in the piece, none of them got over 1% of the members who were actually using those tracking devices. So we want to look at like different levels of motivations to really understand what's driving these members, why have they joined in the first place, what are they ultimately trying to achieve. And these were split into 4 different categories. So we can see our customers who are driven by fitness, by appearance, by enjoyment, and by social motivations. And then what percentage, how motivated are they to achieve those areas. What you can see was that there wasn't a great difference with our fitness and our social based customers, so with regards to the levels of motivation, but our customers who are driven by appearance and who are driven by enjoyment were much more likely. Well, we can see that there's higher levels of motivation with those groups of people if they're using those tracking devices, if they are tracking what they're trying to do. With regards to the other ones, there's not a massive difference. There's not a statistical difference between the non-tracking and the tracking groups. So one thing that we thought would definitely be really interesting to make sure we understood was, do the tracking devices actually change our visit frequency? And the message from that, unfortunately, is a no. So from the groups, the average visit frequency of the customers who weren't using tracking devices was 6.7 visits over the course of a month, and the customers who were using the tracking devices, exactly the same, 6.7 visits was the average attendance figure. So there was no association between tracking and physical activity and club visits. So then we moved on to having a look at levels of progress, and in this piece there was like 9 measures of progress. So as you can see from the levels of progress in our red line, people that were using the tracking devices, and the blue line, people weren't tracking what they were doing. And we can see all bar one group, you can see that there's either no difference or there's a slight improvement in what they're reporting, apart from the groups who are feeding back that they were making friends. And the ones that you were getting your biggest difference, we can see people who wanted to lose weight or who were reporting that they lost weight. Yes, statistically really big difference there, 12% difference in that group between the not tracking and the tracking group, and 9% difference between I improved my appearance. Probably not massively surprising, considering the highest ranked or the highest used fitness app or tracking device was MyFitnessPal, so people who wanted to try and lose weight. But I think the thing that probably concerns us a little bit more, we know from that past research pieces, were customers who did report that they made friends. They improved their friendship groups within their clubs, 40% more likely to stay with us as customers. Yet we can see in our I Made New Friends group, it's the only group who statistically they actually they report less progress in that area. So they're less likely to make friends compared to the people who aren't using tracking devices. May well be because they're wandering around our gyms looking at their mobile phones as opposed to talking to the other people, making friends within our facilities. And then we look at the activity tracking and retention. So we can see from here, so the graph shows that the lower proportion of members are retained, there is a lower percentage, a lower proportion of the members that retain over a 7-month period who report using the tracking devices for tracking their physical activity compared to the members who don't. So 87% of members who do not track their physical activity retain their membership after a 7-month period, compared to 83% of members who do track their physical activity. So the risk of cancellation at any point in that 7-month period is 25% higher in the tracking member group compared to the non-tracking group. But the members who track their physical activity, as we talked about earlier on, they are younger than the members who don't track their physical activity. So we might think that's most likely going to be the thing that's going to take into account the difference of the cancellation risk between that tracking group and non-tracking group. So when we take that into account and look at the differences between age from tracking and non-tracking of those members, the excess risk of cancelling in the tracking member group, it falls to like 7%. But 7% is still statistically significant. So, and if we were looking at it in regards to what the cancellation rate be for every 1,000 members, it would actually total to there be 4 extra cancellations each month between those groups of tracking and not tracking physical activity. So yeah, ultimately, what do we what would we decide to do? Would we use it or not use it? And the key thing that we really just want to advocate from this webinar and this study piece for us was we're completely sitting on the fence with regards to advising you guys whether you should use them or not. We know what the research has suggested, but I think the other key thing that we definitely need to take into account is we understand what that market's like now. It's absolutely booming. You've got some real big operators, the likes of Apple, etc., coming into those markets. So we can only really see that that market getting bigger and bigger. And the key things that we would recommend would be, if we're thinking about tracking, it was more frequently reported by the newer customers, by the younger customers, and less by those old customers, and a lot less by the long-standing customers also. So if we were thinking about where we're going to incorporate it into something like our new member journey, we're probably going to be a lot more likely to fit that in at the start of the journey. But we'd also definitely be making sure, and we'd advocate that you understand, is it making a difference, or is it really driving some of our customers away? So there were high motivation levels. We could definitely see that from the research piece, but there wasn't any difference to club usage between those tracking groups and non-tracking groups. One of the things that we didn't measure, those behaviour changes outside of the club. So potentially some of those apps are helping us exercise outside of facilities as well. So potentially there is going to be a plus if we looked at those areas, but we would definitely be making sure that you would understand if that was the case. And some of our members who will find tracking their behaviour helpful, but we know that this alone isn't going to help improve their attention. We do know, as I talked about earlier on, we know that one of the biggest things that we can do is improving those social groups within the club. So how can we do that? How can we make using some tracking devices a bit more social as well, not isolated, not looking at that screen, that mobile phone as we wander around the gym, tapping in the activity that we've just done. And ultimately, I think the biggest recommendation that we can really make would be, use the tracking devices, but make sure that if we are using those tracking devices, it's only going to be to improve the level of service that you're trying to provide. So don't let yourself find that you're going to take up a tracking device instead of investing in that interpersonal time that you have with your customers. So we would definitely be advocating that it would work, that potentially they fit hand in hand, but from the study piece that we've looked at, there's definitely we wouldn't be suggesting that's the tracking devices are going to be helping you ultimately with keeping customers longer, because from this we know that they don't, but we do know that interpersonal, that connection, be it with staff, be it with other members within the clubs, does improve customer retention. So we would definitely be advocating that you make sure you keep focusing on that at the same time. So that is the final slide of the webinar today. So nice and short and sweet. Next month's webinar, can you afford to listen to your members? It's on the Tuesday, the 25th of August. Again, the same time between 4 and 4:30, or 11 and 11:30 EST time. We'll maybe just spend the last couple of minutes now just seeing if we've got any questions from the 38 attendees that we've got in the session today. So if you'd like to post any of your questions on the GoToWebinar tool that you have on your screen, there's a chat section on there. You could post a question on there if you'd like to send that through to me. So we'll just wait 30 seconds, a minute, see if anybody would like to pose a question. Okay, so we've got a couple of questions. So first one from Tiffany Gould. In any of these situations, were the tracking devices being used as part of a member journey? Were there individual goals set for the clients, or were all the devices used independently of the fitness membership? Must admit, Tiffany, not 100% sure on that one. I can definitely find that one out for you. I think it was a generic research piece, so I don't think that we looked into any of those a little bit further. So yeah, it almost guaranteed that we're not looking into how they're incorporated into the new member journeys, but I'll definitely find that out for you, and I will forward. If we do know that information, then I'll forward that round to everybody that was on the webinar today. Michelle Munn, as you said, which trackers were most used? So the fitness apps were the biggest ones. So apps on phones were used the most, 15% of the 27% of people who reported using the fitness tracking devices. So it was fitness apps, and MyFitnessPal was the top one that was being used. Got a question from Matthew Hunt. So have you measured the tracking differences in the CrossFit community versus the fitness industry world? It seems to me that the CrossFitters love tracking, and that helps with retention. Not sure if we had any CrossFit groups. I'm almost certain that we didn't have any CrossFit groups that were incorporated into the research piece in the UK. Again, I can find that out for you. Yeah, but I think anecdotally, I think we definitely know that the CrossFit groups, the niche groups, tend to be a lot more into like the performance, the monitoring, etc., which I'll almost guarantee the CrossFit community would be included in. And question from Guy Williams, did you notice any difference in the tracking impact on retention between independent tracking systems like MyFitnessPal and the club integrated systems like My Wellness Cloud or FitLinks? Again, Guy, not 100% sure if we weeded out the differences between those. I will make sure that we respond to you guys on that one. Question from Michelle, what are people tracking? I think the biggest thing that we could probably see from, well, if MyFitnessPal is the one that's being used the most, it's probably most likely to be weight management, appearance is going to be the things. We've got another question about MyZone. Any feedback on MyZone? So all of the other than MyFitnessPal, any of the other apps that were, or devices that were being used, were under 1%. So yes, people did report back on MyZone, but I know that we didn't look into any of the specific types of app, as it were. Another question from Tiffany asking, what were the actual questions that were asked about the tracking devices? Can we send them on? Yeah, we can definitely send them on. So we'll forward them through to you guys as well. And we'll forward through some of these slides. And Michelle, which device, Fitbit, Jawbone, etc. Yeah, I think I've seen some of the responses. So Fitbit, Jawbone, etc. Yeah, we're definitely all included in the responses that came back. But again, yeah, less than 1% for all other types of device apart from the MyFitnessPal. And last question, virtual training is a good tool. Is virtual training a good tool in retention? So again, I think, yeah, well, that's definitely something that seems to be in vogue at the moment, isn't it? Fitness virtual training sessions or virtual training, being able to compare data, etc. Again, didn't go into the individual types when we were looking, but I think you can generically take some of the results out of the information. Okay, so So final question that we've got, are there plans to look into this research area further? I'm assuming it says or not. We haven't 100% decided exactly what is going to be the areas of focus for the final 2 years. We do regular customer forums, etc. So I think one of the things that we'll almost definitely do would be to try and get a bit of an idea from the customers that we currently work with, what areas that they would like us to research into a little bit further, so it can really help drive your businesses in the future. Okay, so if you do have any other questions, please feel free to post them to us. If you want to book for the webinar for next month, it's on the retentionpeople.com website. Look at the webinar events pages, and you can log yourself in for the August event. If you did have any questions, or if you've got any other any other questions, anything that you want clarifying, etc., my details are up on the screen at the moment. So it's Craig, my phone number's up there. Feel free to either give me a call or email me, and I'll try and answer any questions you guys do have as soon as I possibly can. This is being recorded as well, so it'll also be on our YouTube page within the next couple of days. So if you think that anybody else would be interested in any of the areas that we've been talking about today, feel free to point them in the direction of that YouTube site, and also the future webinars that we've got planned in for the rest of 2015. So just finish off there, just thanking everybody for attending today, and hopefully look forward to talking with you guys in August. Thanks very much.